I just want to talk, Doug, because you and I are both kind of in this place of growing our teams. Mm-hmm. What kind of a person, what kind of an agent are you looking for? Welcome back to Really Mary. Today we're going to have a very fun topic, and that is to talk about an individual agent joining a team. And with me in the studio today, I have Doug Edrington here from where else but Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Thanks for having us.
And Berkshire Hathaway. And I just want to talk, Doug, because you and I are both kind of in this place of growing our teams. Mm-hmm. But talk a little bit about your team and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We are about 30 agents, 10 staff. And, our common ground here is the Tom Ferry Network, is how we got to know each other. And it's cool to be able to come to other cities and meet people like yourself and get to think and get to actually talk about what are you doing? What am I doing? And then that passes down to our agents as well.
Absolutely.
And so, the goal here for our team is to, just keep growing, find the right people that have common goals and we just keep rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Large team, and you're constantly recruiting. You're constantly adding to your team.
Yeah.
What kind of a person, what kind of an agent are you looking for?
Well, our hiring values is the way we like to think of it, is hungry, humble, smart, with professional maturity and a little bit of swag. And,
that swag part.
It took us a while to actually put this together.
Yeah.
Call it 20 years for us to put this together to figure out how do we clearly identify people. It's not just like thinking about, let's just draw some words on the board and say, this is what it is. It's trial and error. It's meeting lots of people. It's hiring people that didn't work out, hiring people that did work out, and trying to identify those different traits that are important. And so, if you just go down the list, like hungry, you've got to be motivated. We generally don't do well with we don't hire part-timers, but someone that's looking at part-time, that hunger isn't going to align with us. Or if someone's just wanting to do this for fun, or because, their family builds a house once in a blue moon, that doesn't align with us. So we want to make sure that the hunger aligns on, we're all showing up to help reach a common goal. Right. The humble part, I think that goes without saying, is just egos are important in sales, but they've got to be in check and they've got to be willing to help each other out, and they've got to be willing to just be there. Right. And be there for each other. So humble's important. Smart is like one of the hardest ones for us to figure out sometimes, right?
People smart.
There's people smart, there's street smarts, there's book smarts. But then in our world now, it's like tech smart, right? And it doesn't mean that they have to understand it all. They just have to be coachable. Yeah. And so it's another way of trying to figure out coachability. Okay. And so hungry, humble, smart, with professional maturity. Okay. That is something that seems to be hard to find these days. We're just trying to find people that, that you would be proud. Like if someone were to join our team as a gatekeeper, as the leadership staff on our team that is bringing the people on, we think like if one of our agents is going to allow a newer agent to come shadow with them, which is absolutely what we do, we're having to make that decision for our entire team of this person's going to come out with you, and are they going to fit that professionally mature role? So trying to figure that out is, I don't want to say that's really not that hard. It's just identifying and sticking to our values here, and it's important. And then a little bit of swag. We're in a first impression business. You know? It doesn't mean you've got to be GQ. It doesn't mean you've got to be the best looking person in the world. It's not about that. It's when you walk into a room, are you mute in the corner, or can you carry on a conversation with a lot of different people, right? And some people just have that gift of the gab. So our industry isn't for everybody, of course.
It is not. And, Doug, you were so kind to do some training with our team today, and I so appreciate it. Yeah. And one of our agents, her superpower is rapport. Yes. And you were doing some training, and you totally nailed that on her in like 10 seconds. Yeah. Because that's what you're talking about, that swag. She is going to come in and make that impression on people because that's just what she does. Yeah. What we identified with this individual that we're working with, it was like, in doing some role playing, it was clear and evident that she probably does really well on your team, and she has the ability to just hit it off with people, right? Totally. And so what we want to do today, though, I hope we've made a dent in to accomplish, is making sure we know exactly what to say. We have the scripts in place.
she knows what to say. It's just crafting it to where it's super comfortable to be able to say it like that every single time, to take an individual that is really good with just people in general,
right,
and then give them some extra skills that they bring to a conscious level. It'll make them efficient. Versus
Love
just
that word.
having to nurture forever and ever and ever. Sometimes you can get to the point quicker without pushing the customer, just saying the right things, right?
Exactly. In a way that is perceived that is direct and to the point, but not overbearing.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I have a tendency, shocking, to be a little overbearing. You know? Hey, whatever.
Yeah, most leaders do.
Most leaders do. Yeah, thanks for sticking up for me.
Well, I'm in the same boat. And one more on top of so those are our hiring values, but we have one more that we also talk about often. It's the vacation test. We talk about it all the time. In bringing someone onto this team, would they pass the vacation test? Meaning, could, like, for example, there was an event in Orlando, a Tom Ferry event that we all went to not too long ago. And a lot of them got on a plane and flew down to Orlando together. And the question that we ask in interviewing, we don't verbally ask it, we ask ourselves this in identifying if this is the right fit for our team is, would they pass the vacation test? Could we actually go on a vacation with them? Because we will likely travel with a lot of our team at some point in time. And on top of that, when we're partnering with our peers on our team to shadow or work a client, so oftentimes they pair up within the team to work with a family or a group, and they're going to spend a lot of time just in the car with them and having to navigate challenges with them. So the vacation test is basically, could I get in a car and drive down to Florida, with this person and not throw them out of the car or want to jump out of the car, right? And so, because if in an interview, and I would say this, if you're interviewing companies and teams out there yourselves, for the agents that are watching this, you should also have that same test for the team that you're going to work with. Like, could I actually travel with them? Because if you don't think you could, and you're just like, well, they provide leads and they provide this and I might do well there. If you don't think you would pass the vacation test with them, it's probably not going to work out in the end.
I love that. That is also a new thought that I have that I gained from our time together. I love that. I maybe go back and see, who would want to be on vacation with me? Might be the problem. So you've got these folks. I know you're looking at the vacation test and other things, hungry, humble, and smart, which I love, swag and the professionalism. Mm-hmm. What characteristics are you looking for? Because they're characteristics, but it's kind of more of a global level. Are you looking for a certain personality style? Are you looking for a certain disc style? Is there anything else that you're looking for?
The one personality type that is, I think it's hardest on them, is the amiable, analytical.
Right.
Those individuals that have that personality type, they're the ones that generally, when it comes to sales, it's hard for them to get started, because that individual generally has to understand everything to its core before they will actually go out and demonstrate it to a client. And so they're like our slow bloomers. In a sense, I'm not saying that we don't hire them, but we have real conversations with them when we identify that this personality, like, hey, you're checking all these boxes off.
Right.
But you come off very analytical and you're very amiable. You want to do better for others than oftentimes better than yourself, right?
Yeah.
People pleasers, right? And so when you are concerned about what other people think, and you're an analytical and have to know every single step of the way, sometimes we get in our own way.
Right.
And so we still have a large portion on our team that probably fit that personality profile. But at that point, it means we just really have to go deeper into training with them, because it really comes down to understand the why first.
Right.
Then practice the habits that you need to do, and then have some people would call it accountability. I don't think it's accountability in this case. I think it's more just a huge support system. Like, they got to have the words of affirmation to let them know when they're doing really well. And when there's a big win, help them identify that, hey, this was a big win. You just broke through a big barrier, or you accomplished something with a client that not everybody could do. So, but that's one personality type that I would say, if you find yourself in that bucket, it's going to be really important you have the right tribe to support you. I think that's really important to think about.
I think the hardest thing is, this is a contact sport. We're picking up the phone, we're meeting people face to face, and that seems like we're trying to get, maybe we'll think about it tomorrow, get started.
Yeah.
So that's a great,
they need the nudge. And then I'll say this too. Some of our best performers are the ones that you wouldn't think would have been. I've stopped making bets or taking a guess when we hire somebody. Are they going to be our next top producer, or are they going to be an average agent? Like it's hard to say because everybody's got different backgrounds. More importantly, everybody has different whys.
The why is the key.
And so, what they're really doing it for. And you and I have both seen all the different reasons. You've seen people that have gotten in this business because they're recently divorced and now they're having to jump back into the workforce that they're not accustomed to being in. And like some of those people just absolutely kill it. And then you've got other people that are accustomed to a really high income. And so those excite me because people that have got their ways set, their expensive tastes, they like nice things. They've got to maintain that, But then I really like working with a lot of the younger folks that are just getting started too, they have maybe rent and that's it, and so we've got to help them find their why of what are they actually trying to build, because I don't want to just be, for a young 20s agent, just like a stepping stone. Like we want to actually help them build a career and push forward. So, generally people will earn as much as they're accustomed to making. And so you got to constantly expose them to not just new ideas, but also just new people, right? Like we leverage our coaching network through Tom Ferry. And so it's cool to introduce our agents to each other because that exposure is really valuable to help them be like, wow, I've never thought about how your agent has an Airbnb down here, right? And how they get to use it, but it's also an investment. That could be an exposure to our agents that'll make them think a little bit differently. And there's all sorts of different things, right?
I love that. I think you hit it on the head. It's a two-way street. It's if you're looking to join a team, making sure that the team is what you're looking for, both in personality, culture, et cetera. And then making sure from the team perspective that they're a good fit. I know in our team, we do lots and lots of training. That's huge on skill. And one of the things you brought to life today was about more skill. And having that relationship we get to have through Tom Ferry, of you coming in and educating, which was very kind of you. What do you do on a daily basis, like on a daily with your team or on a weekly from a training standpoint?
So when we bring an agent on our team, we take them through a certification process. Everybody's got to have the same groundwork coming in.
Sure.
And so when I say a certification process, it's literally a process that they have to go through to be certified in different topics, and then they're tested on it before they can earn lead flow and opportunity.
Yes.
And so the first steps is a contract certification. The second one is communication skills on the phone. And how to communicate with individuals, which is a lot of scripting. The third one is buyer presentation, which is when you meet that buyer for the first time, how do we shift their focus oftentimes away from a house and more about the journey that they're about to go on and how we can be of value to them. And then the fourth is tech, because as we both know, there's a lot of tech in our business. So, and people need to be coached on that and guide them through. So once we take them through those 4 certs, that's the basis of it, right? Then they earn lead flow. Then it's on the job training. It's like, all right, you're actually doing the job now. You have opportunity to earn money, but we got to be with them and hold their hand for a while, right? And so we've got a cadence on how long that lasts for. And but then once you're through the onboarding of it, it's run the drills. It's doing the boring stuff often, and I like the boring stuff. I love to do the role plays. I love to do the scripts because that's what makes us efficient, helps us earn an income that we are happy with and be able to live the lives that we want.
I love that.
In addition to doing the boring stuff, it is important though to monthly or quarterly, depending on the size of the project, to constantly learn something new, right? Yeah. Constantly stay a student. Right. The moment that you think you've made it, that's actually the time that you're starting to lose it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us. And right when you think you got it all figured out is right when you start hearing about it. It's kind of like social media, like,
dang that you said that. Yeah.
No, but seriously, it's kind of like, for my age group, it's like, okay, Facebook, Instagram, but then younger than me, it's like, okay, it's like TikTok and I don't know, something else, I'm sure. Right. And so if we open up our eyes and say, okay, if that's an important place for us that we need to focus on, we got to always be learning. Otherwise we're going to become that fading winner. And we don't want that either.
Now, you talked about that today, which is really great, the fading winner and always in startup mode. That training is really near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. We're going through, and I'm going to do a shout out to Mel Robbins because she's amazing. Yeah. But with a group of, they selected themselves, self-selected team members, they decided to transform their business, and we're going through Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. Mm-hmm. And it is such a great starter. It's a tool to get you in action in whatever part of life you are. So I love that you do that once a quarter and you think of that new thing we're learning. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes I find that I keep throwing too much at them too fast to the team. But, I love lifetime learning. I think that is the key. Yep. I think, Doug, we're on parallel of a lot of things. From that perspective, you provide leads, you provide training, you're teaching them on contracts. How does that work on your team? Do they write their own contracts? Do you have a support group that does all that?
Yeah, we've got about 10 staff outside of the salespeople on our team that have multiple different roles, from a director of operations to our VP of business development, which is lead training basically and growing the team. Yeah. We also have an operations manager who basically manages all the tech. It's wild that this is a position we've had for maybe 6 months now, and like everything's changing and evolving so quickly. So it's pretty cool that it seems like every week it's like, oh, we don't have to physically do that anymore because there's an automation to do it now. Things of that nature.
Like that whole Slack thing that you mentioned. I mean, this was something, I don't know if that's in the last 6 months, but the lead comes in, it's already assigned to somebody else, and the new lead comes in. You send out a Slack message to 4 people. There's
an automation that will send out the Slack message to both agents that may be talking to the same lead to fill everybody in. Like, hey, both of you are talking to them. You guys kind of both need to know that.
Right.
Right.
And so somebody has to take lead point.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a lot of kind of techie stuff that we're into, but yes, leads are important. We've got Zillow. We've recently just locked down Realtor. What do they call it? Market VIP.
Market VIP.
And so we basically have the entire market of Chattanooga for Realtor.com. I think we're incredible. Like 26% of Zillow for Chattanooga. Our team lists a lot of homes. Yeah. And I think we're sitting maybe 120 listings right now. Right. And so it's not your lead or you're listing your lead, as I've heard in this industry a lot. We actually share when a listing comes in, when a lead calls, a human being calls off of a sign call, our entire team's phone rings at the exact same time, and to make sure that the customer is always taken care of.
That's important.
Because if someone, and this is like where we can't have the egos get too big sometimes. In my team, if you list a house, it's important that the people that have access to answer the sign call, for example, they have to be well knowledgeable about the listing. They have to be well knowledgeable about the skill set and the scripts that they need to land the appointment. Yeah. And they've got to follow protocol and maintain a certain standard on the team to continue to receive those opportunities. And I think it's important when we list a house, we let the seller know that as much as you may like me because you're choosing me to sell your house, I can't promise that I answer every single phone call 24/7. Right. So what we've done is we've standardized our process to a high level, to a high standard, to make sure that whoever does answer the phone is going to do it a way that is, we're all proud of. And every call is recorded now these days, and we do a lot of auditing and a lot of checking. But the power of a team is kind of interesting because, as we say often, a team will always outperform an individual. Right. And if you think of an individual agent out there that's wanting to, you and I both probably get these same questions all the time from agents that are just like, I'm thinking about spending money on X, but it's really expensive and I don't know if I'm going to get my return out of it. Right. And oftentimes I'm nervous for them because I'm like, the lead source that you're thinking about buying or the tool you're thinking about buying takes almost an employee to manage it. Right. And to make sure that we don't miss an opportunity when you spend all that money on X. Right. And so it's hard for an individual to dive into some of these things, but joining a team doesn't take the individuality away from the person though.
No, not at all.
I'm sure you guys do it too, but like we totally support our agents as individuals. You know,
yes.
one of our agents just had the big billboard put up at the ball field, right? Because the kids are out there, and you know, our little logo's at the bottom down there, but like it's about her, and we want to support that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important that the team respects the individuals, but it's also important that the individual respects the team, right? Because oftentimes there are sacrifices one has to make in joining a team, but it's for the greater good that should help everybody out.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this has been awesome. And, you know, I know you're like me wanting a lot more information from Doug. He will, as an agent, he will gladly take your referrals in Chattanooga.
Of course.
Any area around Chattanooga.
We'll take good care of your clients.
And don't go through Zillow or Realtor because then they want a piece of it. Just call Doug directly. His info will be below. And as always, you know, we're looking to grow the Bartos Group. And if you haven't spoken to us in the past, we'd love to do so. But until next time, I'm Mary Bartos, and we look forward to seeing you, you know, join in a team, whether it's ours or somebody else, if it's right for you.